elected, what are your top 3 goals you plan to see accomplished in your next term?
Well, there's 3 really basic issues to this state, but one is to keep our economy growing and growing in a way that it's producing kind of good-paying jobs that people can buy a home, support their family, enjoy the good things that life in Wisconsin has to offer.
Nobody thinks in terms of human beings. Governments don't. Why should we? They talk about the people and the proletariat. I talk about the suckers and the mugs. It's the same thing.
All right.
All across Wisconsin, people are standing up for Shirley Abrahamson.
Because Shirley stands up
for all of us. She made sure kids who were hurt by dangerous products got their day in court.
She's upheld the laws we need to lock up dangerous criminals.
She's the kind of judge you're proud we have here in Wisconsin.
Supreme Court Chief Justice Shirley Abrahamson. Fair, independent.
When I'm sitting here, I'm standing up for the people of Wisconsin.
That's our chief.
When Mike DeRoe's Wisconsin land was stolen through fraud and forgery, he turned to Wisconsin's justice system. That was the rudest awakening of his life. He had no way of knowing that corruption trumps the rule of law in the Badger State. All levels of government are tainted, especially close to the Capitol in Madison. Little known to the public is the real power and enabler behind the throne, Chief Justice Shirley S. Abrahamson. Once described as a carpetbagging opportunist from New York, she came to Wisconsin to be a big fish in a small pond, or as a wolf, to feed on Wisconsin's trusting and naive sheeple. As the first woman Chief Justice of the Wisconsin Supreme Court, Grandmotherly Abramson is ideally suited to provide cover for rampant corruption.
Day in, and you've got to drive back to Madison and check at the office. So people think judges don't work. That's not quite right, is it?
No, not quite right. It'd be nice to have a job that you didn't have to work in, but I don't have that job.
It's far beyond remarkable that all of Wisconsin's corporate media panders to such an unremarkable woman. A reading of Ms. Abrahamson's judicial opinions reveals an unsophisticated thought process totally focused on having her social engineering ends justify her heavy-handed means. What endears her to the media elite is an Eastern globalist social agenda. Her findings drip of condescension, a feeling that the average backward citizen of the state of Wisconsin doesn't really know what's good for him or her and must be coerced into proper, politically correct attitudes and conduct. Her disdain for the average person is only exceeded by her contempt for the Founding Fathers. Don't count on traditional newspapers like the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel to tell the truth about Shirley Abrahamson. Look rather to the Internet and to the blogosphere. This is by James Wigderson. On April 7th, Wisconsin voters will have a choice between 2 candidates for state Supreme Court. Other than the nifty black robes, the 2 candidates couldn't be more different. When asked about judicial activism, Abrahamson declared it didn't exist. Yet in her most recent ads, Abrahamson claims her most important role as a judge to, quote, help people. The part about upholding the law and the state constitution must have slipped her mind. When asked about her record of voting with criminal defendants, Abrahamson stated at a debate, quote, "You call them like you see them." Let's take a look at how she sees them. In 1995, Abrahamson was the lone vote against the law that keeps sexual predators behind bars if it's determined they continue to be a threat to the public. On other issues, she likes to call them as she sees them too, regardless of the laws created by the legislature. On school voucher programs, Abrahamson has been a reliable vote for the teachers' unions, voting to strike the voucher programs down. On medical malpractice, Abrahamson sided with the trial lawyers and voted to raise the caps, again contrary to the law and contrary to the public interest. In the now infamous lead paint case, Abrahamson voted for the plaintiff, saying he did not have to prove who manufactured the lead-based paint that poisoned him. The plaintiff would be allowed to sue all the companies that made lead-based paint. Her opponent is a conservative judge, a strict constructionist. He is opposed to usurping the power of the legislature as a judge despite his personal preferences, would be bound by the law provided it's constitutional, and would not give in to any ideological whimsy. Quote, he's a far better candidate than any of the last three victorious conservatives, and more to the point, he's a far better candidate than Shirley Abrahamson. He authored a clean campaign pledge, something Abrahamson refused to sign. He has even raised the issue of campaign contributions from lawyers appearing before the court.
Legal experience, a reputation for integrity, award-winning judge. Randy Kosnik is ready to serve on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Kosnik is committed to keeping our families safe by putting criminals behind bars. A judicial conservative, Judge Kosnik believes in applying the law, not legislating from the bench. And Judge Kosnik's most important job, husband to Terry and father to his daughters. Judge Randy Kosnik for Supreme Court.
As a brilliant man once observed, all new political officials come to earth wearing wings, but soon grow horns. Shirley Abrahamson's opponent could very well turn out to be less than what the people of Wisconsin hope. He's relatively unknown, and that perhaps is the main point. Shirley S. Abrahamson has a long record of destruction, deserving of punishment. The mildest punishment is to deny her yet another 10-year term. 33 years would be enough for even a good jurist, much less a corrupt hack. Let's quickly recap Miss Abrahamson's troubled career and philosophy. She subscribes to the idea that American courts should be subservient to foreign law and precedents. This treasonous idea effectively negates the Constitution, substituting the tyranny of elitists in foreign tribunals for the wisdom of the founders and the rights granted by God. This concept effectively undoes the American Revolution. Free speech and property ownership, central to the American way of life, would simply disappear. Miss Abrahamson is an advocate of a concept known as restorative justice, where thought crimes are more harshly punished than violent crimes against people and property. Restorative justice has allowed murderers, rapists, and child molesters to avoid long jail terms, while people expressing unpopular, politically incorrect ideas have been incarcerated for years and even extradited to foreign nations with no First Amendment rights. Miss Abrahamson believes in judicial activism, which effectively negates the role of the legislature and the will of the people. This is especially dangerous when combined with a lawless, tyrannical, radical governor like James Doyle. Miss Abrahamson has allowed unethical attorneys in the state of Wisconsin to prey upon the public with virtually no oversight. She revamped the so-called Board of Professional Responsibility by renaming it, but left all of the same political hacks on the board. That effectively flushed out all of the pending cases, allowing unethical and criminally culpable attorneys to obtain a get-out-of-jail-free card. Wisconsin is reputed to have the most unethical attorneys and judges of any state in the union, yet Wisconsin's courts, for some unknown reason, set important precedents for the entire nation. Abrahamson has been a tool for special interest groups to undermine private property rights, to open the door to massive development in environmentally sensitive land. The Associated Press reported that Justice Abrahamson has received more than $30,000 since August 2008 from attorneys with cases currently pending before the Wisconsin Supreme Court. In one medical malpractice case alone, before the state's highest court, 3 attorneys representing the plaintiffs in the particular cases donated $11,500 to Abrahamson campaign. Justice Abrahamson has not refused the money from the attorneys on any of these cases or even disclosed it to other parties. The Kosnik campaign has called the revelations shocking, and to criticize Justice Abrahamson for not recusing herself from the cases that are currently open in the court and for refusing to disclose the donations to other parties involved in the case. For more information about Shirley S. Abrahamson, please go to www.stopshirley.com.